Well, hey, it's Rob, and happy Sunday to you all. It's kind of a dreary, cold, rainy morning here in Atlanta, but I wanted to follow up the video I made a couple days ago about the recently discovered unreleased songs that they found from the Dangerous era that were discovered in a storage locker in Southern California by a retired California Highway Patrol officer. Anyway, people are fascinated by these. Of course, they want to hear them. They're expressing lots of frustration, as they always do with the estate, and saying, why don't they release things like this? Well, I'm going to get into that and talk about what I think is going on. And I especially want to discuss the reason why the estate is saying, and they put out a press release already saying, we don't, have any interest in these tapes. We don't want them. We're not going to make a, financial, offer to buy these or anything like that. The seller is free to do whatever he wants with them as far as taking them to auction or whatever. But of course, nobody would have the right to release these songs on their own. They own, of course, none of the copyrights, and they have no rights to do anything with the music, and could be sued if they decide to, just put out their own Michael Jackson album. That's not going to happen. But, I do want to talk about why I think the estate doesn't have any interest in these particular tapes, and the whole history, which I've discussed in other videos, of the relationship Michael had with Brian Loren and what these songs are. So we'll just get into it right now. All right, so once again, thanks for watching. I enjoy doing this Michael Jackson content, of course, because it takes me back to a different time in my life when I had just graduated college, and I really was just, trying to get into the music business and trying to work with, famous artists like Michael Jackson. And I just got lucky and ended up working at the studio where he happened to be recorded. So it's an amazing experience that, even looking back on it, I think I'm more impressed with now than I was back then when I was in the middle of it. And I often wish I had documented or written down things. It just didn't occur to me at the time, so I'm just going from my memories and things like that. Anyway, so the estate did say that they just don't want to have anything to do with these tapes. They don't want to buy them. They don't want to own them and control them. And people are saying, well, why is that the case? Why doesn't the estate want Michael Jackson music? Why don't they want to release these songs? Why are they torturing us, the Michael Jackson loving public who are dying to hear these songs? Well, let's get into it. So anyway, there's a master list, which is interesting because it has, it says 15 unreleased songs on 16 tapes. I showed this in my last video, except when you look at the tapes, there's even more songs than that. So you have to think about the fact that some of these are works in progress. Some of these might be considered finished, completed with vocals. Some of these are just grooves. They're just, synthesizer parts and drum machine, programs and stuff. They're nowhere near complete. They don't have Michael's vocals on them. So these songs are in lots of different states to begin with, as far as, how complete they are. And overall, I'm going to answer it right now. Why doesn't the estate want these? Well, there are two reasons. First of all, the estate doesn't want these because they already have them. What we're looking at here that, was discovered in the storage locker, and let me see if I can find the picture of where it is. Oh, I used to have the picture. I got this picture. These are digital audio cassettes, and this was what was discovered. And I can zip through a little bit here, and you can see some of the songs that were written on them that they are working on. We don't want that thing. Come on. Every time I try to use the iPad, something goes wrong. Anyway, so those are just, information about the songs that were available on these different digital audio tapes. That's the master list again. So anyway, first of all, the estate doesn't want them because they already own them. They already own the master reels, the reel-to-reel tape that were generated by these sessions, because you have to remember that what you're looking at here When you see this, when you see a DAT tape, this is just a copy. This is just a tape that was meant to be given to Michael so he could put it in a player and listen to it with headphones or whatever and hear what these songs are. These are just copies or even backup copies of the master tapes. So if you rewind back to the good old days, 35 years ago, so the late 80s, these were generated around 1989 into 1990 before the Dangerous Project started. And anyway, what you recorded on were reel-to-reel open reel tapes. I don't have any right here to show you, but that's what we used. There wasn't really any other way to record anything as far as recording a singer, recording a master tape of a song. There were ways that, we had computers back then where you could record something called MIDI. MIDI was the information that told a keyboard what to play, but you couldn't record an acoustic guitar or a singer or, acoustic piano or anything like that. Anything like that you were doing was recorded on a reel-to-reel tape. For the most part, there were a couple other systems, but basically you had a master tape. These are not master tapes, like I said. Oops, there we go again with the iPad every time I touch it. Anyway, those aren't master tapes. Those are copies. So the estate doesn't want them because they're copies. They don't need copies of things they already own. That's number one. The number two reason why they don't want these is because you have to consider the source, unfortunately. These were all tapes that were, collaborations between Michael and Brian Loren. Now, Brian Loren, is a controversial figure because he did a lot of work with Michael, but very little of it ever got released. And part of that was the fact that Brian and Michael's relationship had soured at one point, and Michael had decided either that he didn't like Brian personally, or he didn't like the songs they were working on, or a combination of those things. And that is why there are no Brian Loren songs on Dangerous. So what are you going to do? They had tried to work together. They had, come up with a bunch of different ideas and songs, and some were completed and some weren't. By the way, a lot of this stuff is leaked out on the internet. It's not like these are 15 songs that people have never heard before. If you want to hear Serious Effect, if you want to hear what She Got It, Work That Body, what else is on the list here? I think those are the ones off the top of my head that I know. Those exist. Go on YouTube, and you can hear them yourself. So it's not like all these songs have never leaked out. We've never heard anything, from these tapes. Like I said, Serious Effect, Work That Body, She Got It. That's off the top of my head, ones that exist, but others do exist that have been leaked out. Sadly, some of that was stolen when Brad Sundberg's laptop was taken. Some of it leaked out from other sources or whatever. It's been out there, some of it for a long time. So these are not totally unheard songs, at least as far as the whole collection. Some of them are already out there for anyone to hear who wants to hear them, and may even be the same version that's, found on these DAT tapes. So second reason, like I said, to, summarize, is that he just didn't have a great relationship or feeling about these songs when he was alive. So why would the estate want to release songs that were made in collaboration with someone who, when he was alive, Michael, decided not to work with, decided not to release these songs? I mean, people are always pointing fingers at the estate. They're always saying, why doesn't the estate do this? Why doesn't the estate do that? Well, maybe because the estate is also Michael's family, working with lawyers and other people or whatever. And maybe they're considering, Michael's feelings in all this. And would Michael want to have this music come out? Well, when he was alive, he chose not to. He chose not to include any of Brian Loren's songs on Dangerous. So do we want them to come out now? Is this something that's representative of Michael? Is this something that, the songs are so good that, we're going to go against Michael's wishes or whatever and put them out anyway? It's a very difficult business to try to figure out what to do once someone passes away. This is why bands like Pink Floyd, this is why Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, they're all selling their entire catalogs now, so that while they're alive, they reap the benefits of the money. And then when they die, with their, siblings and their, kids and their stepkids and whoever else is involved, they don't all have to sit around and fight and figure out what to do with this stuff because it's already been sold to some giant company. So that's one of the reasons why they get out of this stuff, you know, at a certain point in their life, is they don't want to have all this family drama. Don't forget, Prince died with no will. Then they had to figure out what to do with the thousands of songs in his vault. He didn't leave any instructions and nobody knows. So that will be an ongoing situation. Jimi Hendrix and other people who died pretty young, they left a lot of unrecorded music. I think the Hendrix estate has done pretty well. They've released tons of live recordings, unreleased recordings, things that nobody knew about or whatever over the years. Many, 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 at least, you know, a dozen or more official releases, probably even more than that, from the Hendrix estate. So there are people who do better with it and people that do, you know, worse with it, you know, at least as far as the fans are concerned. But it's really hard to look at the estate and say, why isn't this coming up? Because you want to hear it, you know, you have a personal desire to hear every Michael Jackson song, but they have other considerations. It's not cheap to distribute and, you know, promote music that they put out. They may, you know, put a disc together and it may actually cost them money. You know, they won't get a good return on it. So there are financial considerations and all this kind of stuff. They got burned when they released that first Michael compilation after he passed away. And I think 3 of the songs had a different singer that wasn't Michael. So there's lots of politics and other stuff going on. I don't want to speak for the estate, nor do I want to defend them or anything like that. I'm not involved with them. I have, you know, no skin in this game here. But anyway, I'm sure there are reasons why things are released, things aren't released. And sometimes we just sit around and wonder about it. I made a video about this unreleased disc I have of Dangerous songs that was supposed to be for a 10th anniversary special edition of Dangerous, which never came out. And then the 20th and the 25th. So there's no special edition of Dangerous that's ever come out that's had these bonus cuts on it. Now, for that 10th anniversary Dangerous compilation, there were a couple of Brian Loren songs on there. And so they were in consideration at that point. Now, this was in 2000 when Michael was still alive. So when he was still alive, at least they were considering some of Brian Loren's songs. So maybe their relationship wasn't as far gone as I'm assuming it was. But anyway, like I said, for many reasons, because they're the songs of Brian Loren, and because they already own these masters anyway, the estate has said, you know, we don't want to, you know, have anything to do with these tapes that were found, and you can do whatever you want with them. So without going over the same old ground that I've covered in other videos, I would say just watch my video about Brian Loren, where you can see what happened in their relationship that, you know, eventually caused them to separate and pretty much remove him from the Dangerous album. I think Brian Loren's songs were easily as good as a couple of the weaker Teddy Riley tracks on Dangerous. Again, I've said this before, and they certainly could have been included in Dangerous. It would have made a big difference in Brian Loren's life to have a couple of these songs end up on Dangerous. His songs have been released in different forms. As a matter of fact, one of the songs on here, which is To Satisfy You, the third one there on the bottom, that's the last track on Brian Loren's record, has Michael singing on it. So that's probably the same version on those tapes that eventually got released on Brian's record, which I can't find anywhere. It may only be like a foreign release, maybe only released in Japan or Europe or something like that. But there is a lot of interesting stuff on here that I've certainly never heard of before. There's one called Son of Thriller, and that's the 4th one on there, Son of Thriller. That sounds like it's a medley or a compilation of different Michael songs that was maybe supposed to be used for an award ceremony or who knows what, where they needed a few different songs together. Maybe, you know, have some additional music or something added to it. Don't know what that is at all. There's a song called Homeless on these tapes. It's not even on the master list, but there's a song called Homeless that's in there. That's the 5th one right there, Homeless. It's supposed to be a song called Homeless Bound, actually. I've never heard it. It was, you know, considered for Dangerous, apparently. Maybe if I heard it, I'd, you know, say, oh, yeah, that song, I remember that. But I can't find that anywhere online. And there are a few here. There's one called Bubbles. Of course, Bubbles was Michael Jackson's monkey. And I got to meet AJ the monkey. That was his other monkey, but Bubbles was one of his monkeys. And you have to remember, and this video is dragging on, but hey, I got a lot to say. So you have to remember, before the allegations, before they were talking about Michael and his, activities with children and that kind of stuff, what did they talk about with Michael? Well, he was wacko jacko. They said he was weird. Part of the things they would criticize him or make fun, of him about were his monkeys, AJ and Bubbles. Those are the ones I know. So, there was that song Monkey Business, which was done by Bill Bottrell, that eventually did get released in the box set. That's kind of a cool song, although it sounds a little bit like Stevie Wonder's Sir Duke to me. But I do remember them working on that in the studio at the time. And I can see why he'd think it was funny to make songs about the monkeys. And he would show that, hey, you're criticizing me for having these monkeys and saying I'm weird and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to write songs about this and show you that, this really doesn't affect me or whatever, that I can laugh about it or, turn it into something positive. So I think maybe he was on the fence about whether he really wanted monkey songs out there in the public. Maybe he had a second thought like, all right, they're just going to say I'm crazy and now I'm writing songs about my monkeys. So Monkey Business has come out. Bubbles, of course, no idea what that is. It's, obviously, something to do with his monkey, or at least the title was inspired by the name of his monkey, Bubbles, but who knows what it is. So there are a good, half dozen songs on there that I've never heard. They're not on YouTube. I don't know anything about them. Interestingly, there's a song on the list called She's Got It Baby, which it says is different than She Got It. So She's Got It Baby is a whole different song. She Got It, I've heard before. She Got It Baby, different song. No idea. So there is some interesting stuff on these tapes. There are some, unreleased songs that it sounds like nobody has ever heard before. Like I said, in different states of completion. Don't Believe It, it says it's complete. 7 Digits, which people have talked about before, that says that's complete. Can't Come Back is complete. This Son of Thriller, which is probably a medley or just a compilation. Truth on Youth, it says is complete. She Got It Baby, nobody knows what that is. It doesn't say if it's complete or not. All the Truth You Need, which has Brian Loren singing on it. Call It Off, again, another song with Brian Loren singing with Michael Jackson on the chorus, it says. She Got It, which I've heard before. Man in Black, I think that one you can hear. Work That Body has leaked out. A Pretty Face Is, I don't know what that is. To Satisfy You is the Loren song that's on his record. Pressure, no idea what Pressure is. I couldn't find any song called Pressure. And Serious Effect, which again has leaked out, and you can hear that one. So there are a good half dozen songs on here that people haven't heard. Nobody knows what they are. If you read the comments on Facebook and whatever, everyone is saying just, we hope these leak out and why can't we hear them and all that kind of stuff. And it's possible they will leak out. It's possible that the person who buys these tapes at auction will get them out somehow, without having their name attached to it or whatever. Because again, at the end of the day, the person who buys these tapes has no rights to do anything with the music at all. They, they're not involved in the creation of the music. They can physically own the tapes and they can listen to them all day and have listening parties and have all their friends come over. But they can't release these in any, public space. And if they do, they will be sued by the estate, who, again, already own these songs anyway. They have the master tapes. So at the end of the day, they don't need these tapes because they already own them. They have the master tapes where these songs were recorded. And at some point, if they decide to release them, they have the final finished versions in the format they need to release them. So, they don't need these copies. All right, that's the end of it. Unless something else comes up and I can get back on here and talk again. Like I said, if that guy Greg reaches out to me, I'm happy to do a Zoom call and talk to him about what he's found and what he thinks, these tapes contain and, what's going to happen with them next. That would be great. But, I talk to a lot of people and who knows what the future holds. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.